just chilling news coming out of Colombia about Maria Jose. Especially, thinking about that other influencer, the one in Mexico, just recently.
Yeah, it's disturbingly similar. Really brings certain dangers into sharp focus.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we want to unpack what we actually know about this awful event. We're working from a podcast script that covered the incident.
Right. Trying to understand the key facts seems crucial right now. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, about the potential downsides of a very public online life.
It really is. Okay, so Maria Jose, she was young, just 22, a university student living in Cucuta, Colombia.
That's right, Cucuta. It's a city pretty significant right near the Venezuelan border.
And that location, it sort of underlines that this kind of thing isn't just happening out in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Violence it can happen anywhere, even inside your own home, which should be safe.
And the way it happened, she was murdered in her home.
While she was live streaming.
I just can't wrap my head around that.
Sure.
The lack of safety in that moment.
And doing it during a live stream, that adds another layer. It raises some really troubling questions about being visible online versus being safe in the real world.
And a total invasion of her space.
Yeah, even while broadcasting, she probably felt it was, her space.
The source mentioned she was shot right on camera. The police are obviously investigating. They're reviewing surveillance footage.
Yes, and that footage could be absolutely vital, not just seeing the event itself, but establishing timelines, maybe identifying people.
Corroborating other evidence, yeah.
Exactly.
They do have a suspect. It's reported to be her ex-boyfriend.
Which, unfortunately, is a factor in far too many cases of violence against women, a former partner.
It's a pattern, sadly. But here's something really crucial, I think.
Yeah.
Just one day before she was killed, she'd filed a police complaint.
Against him. Against the ex-boyfriend.
Yes, against that same ex-boyfriend. That feels huge.
Wow. Okay, that definitely suggests a history there. That she was already trying to get help, trying to get protection from the authorities.
The complaint specifically mentioned harassment and domestic violence.
Right, so harassment and domestic violence reported just the day before.
So the authorities, they're likely looking at retaliation as a strong motive, right? For her filing that complaint.
It seems like a very probable motive, yes. Retaliation for seeking help, which is just tragic. It highlights a terrible potential gap in protection.
Filing a report should be a step towards safety, not this.
Precisely. It seems like in this case, it maybe escalated things very quickly.
The police chief in Cucuta, he made a statement, said they're actively investigating and working fast to find and arrest the suspect.
You hope for swift action. Accountability is just paramount here.
Yeah.
For her and, to send a message.
Absolutely. This case and the one in Mexico,
Yeah.
It really pushes these broader concerns to the forefront, doesn't it? About safety for content creators.
Especially young women, yeah, who share so much of their lives. What kind of vulnerabilities are we talking about?
Well, their work inherently blurs those lines, public versus private. That connection with an audience is part of it, but
it can also make them easier targets, more visible to people who might want to cause harm.
it really makes you wonder about the protections. What's available or what needs to be available for people living so much of their lives online.
Yeah, it raises big questions about the role of online platforms, about law enforcement, about society, really. How do we better safeguard people, particularly when there are known threats against them?
It just underscores these serious, serious risks.
Yeah.
Living publicly online and, well, staying safe in the real world.
It's a difficult intersection to navigate.
So thinking about this, maybe the question for you, our listeners, to consider is, when someone's life is so public, especially if they're facing threats like harassment or domestic violence, how do we ensure that reaching out for help actually leads to safety and doesn't somehow increase the danger?
That's a tough one. How can support systems be truly effective, especially in these very visible situations? Something we all need to think about.